From Homedale to Salmon River, District 3 has several teams that don't always get their due. Stepping outside the shadows of the SIC, this is the Treasure Valley Prepcast with Logan Green.
That's right. It's another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking 3A, 2A, 1A athletics in District 3. Brandon Baney alongside Logan Green today. Let's go zoom all the way in, and then we'll zoom out in just a second.
Okay.
Logan, for our video viewers, you can watch this each week on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. Audio only, also an option at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts. But Logan, I always ask what you're wearing. Sometimes it's really trashy Carolina Panthers stuff, and sometimes it's NC State. But what are you rocking today?
Today I'm staying with the Panthers theme, but I've got my nice Carey 2021. Here we go. Yeah, see Carey. So they gave me this shirt when I was out there it's been a couple months now, but back during football season. Man, I tell you, they spoil us anytime we go to Carey. I love going there. Great people. It's a lot of fun. I know that's different Prepcast, but yeah, they gave me this shirt, and I'd love to rock it. So we mentioned it before. Hey, we'll wear whatever you've got on these Prepcasts and support your school going forward. So we've got Carey here today. I know they're not in our district, but hey, they're the ones that gave me a shirt. So they're on top right now. It's Carey against the world.
Sifting through the tea leaves here, I think I can interpret your statement as saying, hey, this is a District 3 podcast. I need some District 3.
That's right.
Your shamelessness never ceases to amaze me.
I have no shame. None at all.
Yeah, well,
everybody. I'm just kidding.
We were getting some traction on maybe getting some gear or swag from some of the District 3 schools.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I had a few people reach out. It'll be fun to get.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So what is also fun is the action on the courts. I mean, Logan, we are in the last week of the regular season for girls basketball. Some teams have already finished, and some teams have one, maybe 2 games left.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like you said, we even have a bracket that's already set up and ready to go, right, for the long pin conference. They're already 1A D2s. They're ready to go. They got their brackets set. Everything's all settled, and it's kind of interesting for them. It's only going to be a 4-team tournament because of some teams ending their seasons early. Like we saw, Salmon River is done for the year. Horseshoe Bend is done, as well as Meadows Valley. So that just leaves the other 4 in Council, Cascade, Garden Valley, and Tri-Valley that are going to be playing for those bids to state.
Yeah, so Horseshoe Bend and Meadows Valley never had enough girls for a team. They didn't have teams all year. Salmon River started the year and they had too many injuries, which is unfortunate. They ended up having to forfeit a bunch of their league games. And yeah, they'll finish in 5th place, but not participating at districts. Everybody in the district still has a game left. Most of them are playing like Thursday or Friday, but because the standings are so set in stone, they've already been able to put the bracket together. So these regular season games that are left are really for nothing more than maybe motivation going into districts or possibly bragging rights. So you mentioned it, Logan. Let's go ahead and put it up on the screen. This is the official 1A D2 District 3 or long pin Here's the thing. All year long, we call it the long pin conference, and then we get to districts, and all of a sudden it's not the long pin tournament. It's the 1A D2 District 3 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So cold and calculating.
Yeah, so we'll give it a little flavor by saying the long pin.
Long pin, yeah, I like that. So Council, the number 1 seed, no surprise there. They'll play a 4th seeded Cascade, February 5th. And again, if you're watching this video, we've got the bracket up on the screen. If not, it'll be up on our website shortly, IdahoSports.com. So Council will play Cascade in the first game, 6 o'clock, February 5th. All of these games will be at McCall High School. So neutral site. I like that. I like bringing them to a neutral site personally. But
yeah, and I think this conference is one where it works out perfectly, especially at those first 2 games, right? Cascade goes up, Council goes up, they meet in the middle of McCall. Same thing with Tri-Valley. They can come up and Garden Valley comes up and they meet right there in the middle. I think it's It is the best case scenario situation right there for those 4 games, playing them right there smack dab in the middle.
In Montana, where I grew up, Logan, they play their district tournaments over the course of like 3 days, because almost everybody's traveling from somewhere. So they go, we might as well make it worth the time. Instead of making you travel to McCall 3 separate times, you're going to go and play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's
almost like a state tournament environment.
I think it works pretty well, but here in Idaho, it is very spread out, where districts can take like 2 weeks sometimes in some leagues.
Yeah. And ours were, I grew up in North Carolina, a little different, obviously, but ours were always at home sites. And this is something, and we could talk about a little more, but there's a good discussion on the sports boards. So if you're new to Idaho sports, or if you're not sure what the sports boards are, they're just like Reddit for high school sports in Idaho, so to say. You can post what you want and say what you want in there, as long as it's not stupid. That's one of the rules. It said, don't be stupid.
Well, it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, it's tough for Paul to follow that rule. But so one of the one, and I brought it up, was at the 4A level, there's going to be a little bit of a mess, right? With some other conferences, with some really good teams not getting a bid. And when I grew up, they would play full, like the football. And of course, there's way more high schools back down there, and it's a different environment. But you would play the first 3 or 4 rounds at a home site. I think the basketball tournament was 64 teams, just like NCAA. And so you play the first couple rounds at the home site, and then like the final 4, they play it like at the Dean Dome or at Cameron or whatever it was. Play those big time matchups in an environment like that. And part of me wonders if that's something. I know I'm kind of getting off course here with it, but could Idaho do that, expand it, make it a little bit different, where we play at the home sites for those first couple of rounds, give more teams a chance? But maybe that's a conversation for another day. But I also wanted to add that, Brandon, you were giving me very big Greg Gumbel. I don't know what the word is. I saw it in you as you pulled up the bracket, and you were like, the first matchup will be, Council versus Cascade. They will play Thursday the 2nd at 7 p.m. It was very it took me back. I think that's my favorite sporting event of the year that's on TV. I love that, when they put up the teams on the bracket and you see those bubble teams sweating it out. But again, I'm a little bit way off topic right now, but you fit Greg Gumbel's you did a great job filling in for him right there.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's take a look at the long pin region here. Council, the Lumberjacks, the number 1 seed. They will take on the Ramblers of Cascade.
He does. Yeah, it's very like you can hear it. Like you can hear his voice. And do you remember that one year where they didn't do it that way? They just like released all the seeds at one time.
Not cool.
That was the worst thing ever. Again, here we are way off, but they reverted back the next year because it was such a terrible thing to do. Yeah. That was bad.
Yeah, it would be cool if they did that for the actual state brackets, but we know going in, the Max Preps rankings are kind of public knowledge, so can't really do it there. But anyways,
we need to get on that. We need to have our own selection show.
We'll have cameras with the teams live. Like here's a look at the Middleton Vikings as they await their fate. Yeah.
No.
Oh man, we're not even 10 minutes in and we're already at the end of the show banter here. Yeah. Okay, so big story is that's a great conversation you were talking about, Logan, maybe possibly expanding the number of teams, having some home sites, and then whoever survives that gets to go to the big arena. I like that idea. If you want more conversation like that, go to the sports boards. There are online message boards. They're back. It got pretty spammy for a while and kind of became a graveyard, but we've cleaned it up. And we're back and we're talking about that. We're talking about the shot clock. We're talking about the best basketball teams we've seen in the state so far. It's at sportsboards.com. go join and be part of the conversation because, man, we're having a lot of fun in there.
Yeah. No, it's good to hear from other people and what they think. Because I love being wrong, honestly. Like if somebody's got something, better to say, better than my point of view, I like to hear it. And some of these people, they know more than I know with specific teams. And, I enjoy reading those comments and hearing what other people have to say.
Yeah, the sports boards. It's also a link to the sports boards is on our homepage, IdahoSports.com, right there at the top, across the bar at the top, sportsboards.com. So that's girls basketball at the long pin level. Council, we think the favorite. Pretty interesting battle, I think, between Tri-Valley and Garden Valley to see who gets that second bid to state. We can dissect that a little more next week, but these two teams just played actually last night, Logan. They played Tuesday night, and Tri-Valley won by 2, 46-44. It was a very close game.
Yeah, so that's going to be. You're right. You look at it. You look at that bracket right now, and you think that those are the two teams that are going to end up. They're playing in the first round, but that they're probably going to be playing at the end of the day on that consolation bracket for that final spot.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's move up to the 1A D1 level for girls basketball. The standings, Notice is kind of running away with this thing, right? They're 8-0 in the league, 13-2 overall. The question is, who's second? Because they get 2 bids to state this year. Liberty Charter is 6-1 in the conference. They're 7-8 overall. Rimrock is 5-2. Greenleaf is 5-3. Wilder is 4-3. I don't know what to make of it. And a lot of these schools still have, some have 2 conference games because of postponements and makeups and stuff. So there's a lot to be decided still, even in just the seeding for this tournament.
Yeah, you look at it, it's probably pretty set in the fact that number 1 seed is going to go to Notice, and they do look to be in the driver's seat right now. But then you look on the other side, like you mentioned Wilder being in the mix as well, being at, what are they? They're 4-3 in the conference. They have a big game. What is that? That one's on Thursday. So tomorrow against Rimrock. And, that's a big potential seeding game right there. If Wilder can win that game and get over the hump, then where does that knock Rimrock? Of course, Rimrock is, like we said, battling with Liberty Charter for that second spot. Of course, a couple weeks ago, Rimrock did Liberty Charter beat them by 26 points. So do you look at that and say that maybe Liberty Charter has the edge there? I don't know. Because at the same time, you look at Liberty Charter and, they had a very close game with Wilder on Tuesday night, only won that one by 3 points. So you look at that and say, is Wilder in the mix here? Could they sneak up and knock off Liberty Charter? I think maybe that those 4 below Notice, the Rimrock, or those 4, Liberty Charter, Rimrock, and Wilder are in the mix. But then even Greenleaf sitting at 5-3. They've had a good season. They did lose to Rimrock a couple weeks ago, last week actually, but only by 4. And they lost to Notice by just 2. They beat Wilder a couple weeks ago. So, we can play this ping pong battle all you want, but I think that group of 4 right there with Liberty Charter, Rimrock, Wilder, and Greenleaf is a big mess, and that it could be any one of those teams that come out with the bid.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch that district tournament unfold. Let's move up to the 2A where we've got, it's kind of settled. Cole Valley won the league, 12-0 overall, or in the conference, 17-4 overall. Melba finishes 8-3. The more I'm looking at it, that loss they had to Nampa Christian seems more like kind of just an aberration. Nampa Christian and New Plymouth are both 6-5. So the winner, or potentially, you're looking at the difference between being on the same side of the bracket as Melba or being on the same side of the bracket as Cole Valley. I'm not sure there's an easier path necessarily. What do you think? Who would you rather be in the semis with?
Neither. I don't know. I
Well,
don't think anybody wants to face Cole Valley. I mean, straight up, if we're being honest. I mean, we saw what they did in that tournament. They were the only 2A team playing in a tournament full of 4 and 5A schools, and they held their ground. I mean, you look at like we said, they're 17-4, but 3 of those losses came to those 4 and 5A schools, and their only other loss is to Lapway, who Lapway has lost to 5A school or has beaten 5A, at least at the boys level. But the Lapway girls are just as good. So I don't know if they have a bad loss on their resume right now, and I would sure hate to have to face Cole Valley right now. Not just in the conference, but in the state tournament when that comes up. They are on a roll right now. They haven't lost since December against Bishop Kelly. It's going to be tough to stop Cole Valley, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and I guess the way it'll probably shake out is each of these teams has one conference game left. For Nampa, it's both on Friday. Nampa Christian will host Ambrose, and New Plymouth will be at Compass Charter. Compass Charter is struggling. They haven't won a game yet this year. You figure New Plymouth wins that. And even if Nampa Christian beats Ambrose and they finish tied, New Plymouth swept the regular season series with Nampa Christian. So that would put New Plymouth at the 3 seed, Nampa Christian at the 4. And again, we talk about it's going to be important who takes third place because they're going to get a play-in game to state. Now, again, we think that the teams in District 5 are a little better right now than like a New Plymouth or a Nampa Christian. But just to have that opportunity is huge. So
yeah, definitely. And sorry, I'm going to skip back a little bit. Last week we talked about the seeds to state coming out of 1A D1, how they're getting those 2 bids, and if you lose, that's it for you in the district tournament, right?
Right.
I think I'm just thinking about it. It's going to be brutal for those 4 teams that we talked about, the Liberty Charter, Rimrock, Greenleaf, and Wilder, to not have a shot to come back through there. It's going to be a real battle between, and I don't know. I haven't seen the girls one. I don't know if it's the same setup, but we know in the boys that it's a loss and you're done. You can't come out of the consolation side to get back in.
Yeah, let's put up that long pin bracket again, just to Logan explain what they're talking about. So whoever loses the championship has to go back down and play.
Yeah,
whoever.
So this is a great example of how I think everyone should work, and I think 98% of them do work like this. You see here, let's just take for simplicity the high teams win, right? So Council beats Cascade, then Tri-Valley beats Garden Valley. They move on. In the next game, Council wins the championship and Tri-Valley loses, and it goes down. And what would happen in this situation in the 1AD1 bracket, at least at the boys, Cascade and Garden Valley, you are done. That's it. No more basketball. But you do move down to these loser brackets you see here. But then at the end of the day, that's how you see it says loser of game 4, which is the championship game. So the loser of the championship game moves down here and they play the winner. They would play the winner of that Cascade Garden Valley game, right? The double elimination, right? To be out of the tournament. And that's what this tournament grants a team. If you lose in the first game, you still have a chance to fight your way back. And that's great here. It works. But in the other tournament, it doesn't matter who wins the championship game. I mean, it really doesn't. You got there, you got your bid. If you lose, you're still in. But all the other ones, that you see that where the team has another shot at it. In that bracket situation, you might lose in the first round if you're Garden Valley or Cascade, but you have another shot at the bottom. 1AD1, they're still going to play, but they just don't get anything out of it, which if I'm one of those 4 teams, I'm going to be sweating it out, honestly, because you're going to be fighting with each other. And then you think about seeding as well. Like, it's critical to be not 3rd or 4th. Because then you have to, if you can finish 2nd, you don't want to be 4th. You do not want to be like 4th or 5th.
Right.
Because you're going to have to play notice, and that could be it for you. So being 2nd or 3rd is huge. But anyways, again, kind of a little long rant, but
No, that's fine because we talked about it last week, where the 1A D1 bracket is sort of that single elimination setup. We did want to mention as well at the 2A district bracket, we had been talking about how, well, Vision Charter didn't have a varsity team this year. They kind of played a hybrid varsity JV schedule. So Cole Valley will just get a bye in the first round. That's not true. Connor Jackson, the athletic director at Cole Valley, reached out to us and said, hey, just so you know, Vision Charter does get a chance to play at districts. They're automatically locked into that 8 seed since they didn't play a conference schedule. So it sounds like Cole Valley is going to play Vision Charter in that first game. Be a good experience for those players at districts. But I was going to try and share my screen here real quick, Logan, so we can. I've got the 1A D3 bracket, but it's or a 1A D1 D3 bracket, but it's like an Excel file, so I can't like upload it to the program.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you if you look here on this screen, and again, if you're watching the video, you'll want to go full screen. But if you look at this bracket here, Logan, you'll see that there's no chance for the other whoever takes second place.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's
right.
It.
Both right there. You can see it right underneath. Both to state in the championship game, first and second place. So over here you have the third place game, which again doesn't mean anything. So my question would be, what's the point? Why would you have it?
Yeah, I mean, you can even see it right there in the orange on February 7th. It just says winner to state, winner to state. Like, why don't you just end the tournament right there? What's the point?
So anyways, that's what we're talking about. If you want to see this bracket, of course, we will have it up later at IdahoSports.com. Like we just got these like pretty recently, so we're still working them out. But we will have all of those district brackets up on the site probably by the end of the week when we really start getting into district play. But that's what we're talking about with the 1A D1 District 3 bracket. So 2A's is pretty much set. All right, let's talk 3A hoops because, man, what a wild week it was for Parma. We talked about Parma and Fruitland, the rematch. Fruitland won on a last-second basket the first time they played. The rematch was not that close, Logan, right? Parma kind of showed that, well, at least we thought. Parma showed, hey, we're still top dog here. They won 51-21, but then they turn around and lose at Weiser 55-46. I can't make heads nor tails of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're riding high on that. That was a Thursday night game, coming off a huge win against Fruitland. You win by 30, and then you go play Weiser on the road on a Saturday afternoon. Were their heads there? I don't know. I mean, that's not a diss on Weiser at all, but man, I mean, they beat Weiser they beat them by 13 the first time. Like they kind of had their way with them. Yeah, but just kind of a head scratcher to think what happened here. How did you fall in that one? I mean, you look at Weiser though. I mean, they're not like a terrible team. I mean, their losses so far come to Ryrie, who's very good, and then they lost 2 to Melba. And those were their non-conference losses, and then you come back into conference, and it's just Parma and Fruitland. So really, they've kind of been just slowly sneaking around as well, and now you got to think about them when it comes to the district tournament coming up here soon, that maybe now Weiser needs to be included in this, and it's not just Parma and Fruitland, which, I mean, I guess we had incorrectly just given the conference to those two, and now Weiser saying, hey, we got something to say about this. And I mean, they got 2 games left. They play Homedale and Payette to finish out the season, 2 winnable games for them. They could even, if Parma slips somewhere, Parma finishes out with McCall. If the Vandals pull an upset there, then all of a sudden Weiser, they're going to move up in positioning in the tournament. So I don't know, and I really think that it hurts Parma a lot because now you're going to play Weiser in the semifinals, most likely, right? That you'll be the 2, Weiser is the 3, and now you have to play them instead of being that 1 where you can avoid them. I mean, I think it's really those 3 at the top in the SRV. So
yes, and we talked about 2.5 bids to state, Top 2 will get to go. Third place team will challenge the second place team from District 1 and 2 up north. And as we talked 2 weeks ago about it, I said, well, I think the team from District 3 has a pretty good chance. Well, last night,
Nope.
Kellogg defeated Timberlake in overtime and snapped Timberlake's 42-game conference winning streak that dated back, what is that, 7 years? It's a 4-team league. You only play 8 games a year, so 6 years nearly of not losing in that conference. Kellogg knocked them off. So Kellogg and Timberlake both look pretty formidable up north. So whoever takes third is going to be in for a battle. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is exactly what I thought too, Brandon. When I saw that score, I said, man, that really puts everybody here. You're sweating. You do not want to be that half seed, because if it happens to be Timberlake, that's tough. But then having now all of a sudden Kellogg looking very good.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Kellogg's schedule, they've lost to a Montana team, Big Fork, but they've lost to Timberlake and then to Moscow, who's a 4A team, a couple times. That's it. Those are their losses. And it's looking, if you're Kellogg or if you're everybody else, you're looking over your shoulder saying, where did Kellogg come from? And to put it lightly, oh crap, here they come. It's another team thrown into the mix that man, if they can take down Timberlake, there's not anybody else they can't beat at the 3A level.
Yeah. Let's switch over to boys basketball now, 3A level. McCall Donnelly still leads there, 4-1 in the conference, 11-2 overall. They're going to play Parma, Logan, in a game that we'll have on IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. We'll be out there, me and Paul, out at Parma tomorrow night for that one. Parma boys have had a little bit of a rough season, 5-8 overall, but they are 2-2 in the conference. McCall kind of has shown that they're the best team in the conference throughout the year and throughout their non-conference schedule. They did lose to Fruitland a couple weeks ago, but they had a big win on Friday against Homedale. I think that was really the one that was going to decide who gets first place in the conference, and they beat them at McCall. The rematch will be on February 8th. But right now, I think that those two teams in the driver's seat, barring any upset. But, on the other side, Parma, like we said, will be out there on Thursday, or what's today, Wednesday? Yeah, we'll be out there on Thursday. And they lost to Homedale pretty good. But this is the first matchup. And, when you're McCall, you have a target on your back every night. Everybody's gunning for the Vandals, making that run to the state championship. Got one of the best players in DJ Green, and everybody's coming after you. And Parma's going to have a shot at home to take down the top dog, and it's going to be a good matchup right here on Idaho Sports.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So moving on to not much to talk about there. Everything's still pretty settled. Ambrose and Melba, the rematch comes next week, so we'll talk more about that next week. We have to do our weekly check-in on the Western Idaho Conference 1A D1. Continues to be clear as mud. Rimrock is 4-0 in the conference. The hard part is the unbalanced schedules, right? Rimrock's only played 4 games, and Victory Charter has played 6 in the league. So the standings are a little uneven still, but Rimrock is still undefeated, 4-0 in the conference, 8-3 overall. Victory Charter's 5-1. Liberty Charter's 4-2. Centennial Baptist, Notice, and Riverstone are all 3-2. North Star Charter is 2-2. Greenleaf Friends is 3-4. You're talking about the difference between 3rd and 7th being separated by 2 games.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that just a one little slip up by any of these teams, they are all walking a fine line, because it's a huge conference, and just the way it's set up where they only play each other once, kind of lends itself to little confusion. But right now, I mean, Rimrock leading the way. Like we mentioned, they had a big win against Victory Charter a couple weeks ago that put them in the driver's seat. And coming up, they have Wilder on Thursday, and then they have some big games next week against Centennial Baptist and Riverstone, where those are teams that we mentioned only 2 losses in the conference for them. But I'm looking in a couple of weeks. On February 9th, Rimrock is going to Dietrich. I think that will be a good matchup. I know Dietrich's a D2 school, but they were in the state championship last year. They're a good team. Should be fun, interesting to see how Rimrock shapes up against one of the top 5 teams at their level in the state in Dietrich at the 1AD2 level. Should be a good test for the Raiders before they get ready to go into the district tournaments the next week.
Yeah, we're going to find out. We've talked about all year, teams like Centennial Baptist, Notice, Riverstone. Are they for real? We're going to find out, because we're now getting to the point of the year where, like for Centennial Baptist, for example, they play on Friday against Notice, and then they finish with probably the top 3 teams: Rimrock, Liberty Charter, Victory Charter. They'll play those 3 in the span of 8 days once we get to February. So a lot to be decided there still.
Yeah.
It's appointment viewing every week, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to check the schedules here on the site to find out where these teams are lined up. I mean, you can get out your notepad and sketch it out and say, well, if this team beats this team and this one goes here, and attempt to stitch this all together. But man, it's kind of crazy. This is the most up in the air conference. I think Rimrock has kind of pulled away a little bit. Well, just not pulled away, but shown that they deserve that top spot. And I mentioned this to you before, but if I'm Rimrock, I have a chip on my shoulder right now. I think I have a big chip on my shoulder, if I'm being completely honest. I look at the coaches poll this week that came out for 1AD1. Victory Charter is tied for first.
Yeah.
Or tied for second, behind Lapway. They're tied with Grace, and you're not in the top 5. You received some votes, but I'd be a little ticked, right? That you beat them and you're not there, but they're tied for second place. I'd be like, hey, no one respects us right now. That you got some stuff to do here. And you look at the media polls on the other side, and you say, what do people think about us here? Once again, they received 3 votes in the poll, but Victory Charter coming in number 4. So, if you want to play like that with the little chip on your shoulder, I think you got one. If you're Rimrock, you got to show everybody that clearly the media and the coaches don't think you're better than Victory, even though you beat them. So if I'm them, I'm hot. I'm ready to go, ready for district tournaments, and we'll see what happens. Should be a good, entertaining district, that one is.
Still on mute there. Finally, 1AD2. The big story is Council and Garden Valley will have their rematch. The first time these 2 teams played, it was a pretty interesting ball game, right? We thought we'll find out for sure, who's going to take control of this thing. Council only won 64-58. So the rematch Friday night will be very interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that one in Council. First one was over in Garden Valley, so they're coming back west a little bit for that one. And then it's kind of interesting. You look at the lineup here for Council. They kind of are stepping out of conference a little bit to wind out the season. They've got a game against Compass Charter as well as Timberline from Weippe on the 2nd. And, that's a team that has been to state the last couple of years. Weippe has been, I think they were there last year and the year before after something like 50 years of not going to state. So I like that matchup. Right now, it looks like Kendrick is kind of in the driver's seat of that conference right now. But Timberline 4-3 right now. So not too far behind Kendrick, and they've shown that they can win in late February and March. They've proven it in the past, and you never know what can happen. They actually did. Timberline already beat Kendrick earlier this year. Like we said, Kendrick sitting at first place in the conference. So that might be a potential matchup with a team that is going to state. I might even say it is a matchup with a team that'll probably be in state, just from what we've seen from Timberline. Mostly, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but has a very good chance to be at state. Timberline, a team that has been and may possibly be again. It's a good game to get on the regular season schedule that's out of conference, just to see how you fit in, see where your team lines up.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to chart that. And then Garden Valley is at the opposite. They've got all these conference games, right? They're only so Council is 9-0 in conference. Garden Valley is 5-1. They've only played 6 conference games. So look at this schedule to finish out the year for Garden Valley. They'll play Council on Friday night, and then they get into they actually play Horseshoe Bend on Monday, and then Cascade on Tuesday. So they've got a lot of catching up to do in terms of
they got some bams on their schedule right there, and a lot of miles going to be put on that bus. But a lot of trips. I guess Horseshoe Bend's not that far. So, but it's an interesting schedule that they've got the meat of their conference schedule still to go, and Council kind of stepping out of conference to pick up a couple extra games.
Yeah. So that is the latest round ball talk here on the Treasure Valley Prepcast. Logan Green alongside Greg Gumbel, and we'll
that's right.
We'll check back in next week. District basketball for girls will be off and running. Some big matchups still in the regular season for boys basketball, and we'll be back to break down all once again next week. So enjoy the competition this weekend, everybody. For Logan Green, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.